Hello and welcome back to War Thunder Tutorials. Among the hundreds of various combat machines of War Thunder, there are several with really big guns. This episode will be all about them, tanks and aircraft with high caliber weaponry. Let's start with tanks. Heavy tanks normally have big cannons, but even among them, there are a couple of bigger exceptions. How about a 105mm gun at Tier 2? Right here on this Sherman M4A3, a fast, nimble, and a very deadly medium tank. Its high explosive shell can possibly one-shot any tank of its tier or below. Just aim your 105 at fuel tanks and ammo racks. A good shot to any of these spots will make most tanks pop like balloons. Metal balloons filled with explosives, to be precise. If you got surrounded, you can always use your gun to demolish the enemy's cannon barrel and then shoot him in the rear. The biggest problem of your M4A3 is lack of good armor. But you also have an exceptionally good gun elevation angle and a quick reload, so you can work hull down from behind a hill, killing enemy tanks with total impunity. Next up is Soviet Klim Voroshilov 2, most commonly known as the KV-2. Just imagine this. This tank has a 152mm howitzer, firing shells that weigh 150 kilos each. An enemy Tiger? No problem. A Panther? Even less of a problem. There are almost no targets for a KV-2 that it cannot destroy in a single shot. Oh yeah, we're just talking about its basic high explosive shell, but there is a top armor-piercing round for when you need to be absolutely sure your target is dead and gone. Now, the major problem of a KV-2 is almost 35 seconds of reload time. That's half a minute when you're completely defenseless. So, size does not matter every single time. But there's a vehicle that can survive almost any punishment, and that is Su-152. It was nicknamed the Zvero Boy, which stands for Beast Slayer in Russian. Usually when you play this assault gun is more of a fire and forget affair, but sometimes you don't kill your target and it kills you. As you have probably guessed already, this machine is armed with a 152mm gun firing extremely heavy shells. But this time it's an actual cannon, not a howitzer seen on KV-2, which makes it much more accurate. But if your Su-152 is hit in its right corner of the frontal armor, it will almost every time make your SPG go boom in a fiery and spectacular fashion. Here is one last Soviet big guy on this list, Su-100Y. This cottage-sized vehicle is armed with an actual naval cannon. 132mm of its gun are guaranteed to kill any enemy from any range. But alas, this monstrosity has very weak armor and can survive a hit, but only thanks to huge amounts of space inside the hull. But forget about that, because when you have a cannon so powerful and accurate as this one, you can kill any threat before it gets a chance to fight back. Next on the list is an American Tier 5 tank, M103. Now, don't get me wrong, but 103mm does not sound like much given previous entries in this video. But just look at the size of this tank. I can't even decide if I should say now that's a tank-sized cannon or a cannon-sized tank. But the mighty image of this tank is the best of its qualities. The cannon has decent accuracy and armor penetration that has no APHE rounds and has to aim at vulnerable modules like much lighter tanks have to. The armor on it is nothing spectacular either. One good shot and you can go straight to graveyard, not hospital. Finally, we are here. Enter the mouse. Now this is a tank that deserves its big gun, a whole 128mm of gun. The AP value of its top shell equals to 235mm at range of 500 meters. Plus there's an added bonus of a 75mm cannon for free. This is one solid tank, good cannon, armor, and lots of cannon fodder. I'm sorry, I meant a sizable crew that can always find a man to replace an injured colleague. Well, we are done with tanks, which can mount pretty much any caliber imaginable. But even in the skies, there are big guns to marvel at. The first entry here is a German Messerschmitt 262 Punktstora. This ultimate B-17 killer is armed with a 50mm cannon that has quite a decent rate of fire for its sizable caliber. You can even use it against other fighters if you play it right and conserve your ammo. Thanks to its battle rating, this aircraft is most often matched with prop planes, so surviving on it is not an issue. But if you should meet another early jet, you can easily fight it one-on-one with this bad boy. But the Brits got their own flying gun that's even bigger. A Mosquito with its 57mm cannon was designed to counter German U-boats, which had next to no armor and could easily be sunk by a direct hit from such a weapon. For now, this mighty insect cannot kill submarines because there are no submarines in the game. But it can sure ruin a day for any tank on the ground. The only telling problem for this plane in that regard is somewhat of a high battle rating. The Japanese did some experiments in flying guns too. KI-102 was meant to deal with ever-increasing numbers of B-17s. Japanese designers have concluded that 57mm are more than enough to kill these irritating bombers, although given its battle rating, you're unlikely to meet such an opponent on it. But thanks to its good maneuverability, this aircraft can easily down enemy attackers and bombers of its tier, thanks to its two 20mm cannons in addition to its main gun. Have we yet told you about useless aircraft? Well, there's one that comes to mind. Meet the Henschel 129B3. The engineers who built it have managed to install an actual 75mm high-velocity anti-tank cannon on it, but they kinda got carried away and totally forgot that a plane has to, fly. When you're dealing with this plane, you will notice how it is extremely hard to maneuver after a ground strike and how underpowered the engines are. But you can say that the gun is good, which is not bad, and even has APCR shells to boot, but you gotta be very accurate to use it properly though. Now the pinnacle of engineering wackiness is the US Navy attacker, PBJ-1H. Looks like these were designed to attack small enemy islands and sink them. Why would a plane need a 75mm M3 cannon otherwise? See this, the very same, albeit a longer version of this cannon is used with Sherman tanks. But the engineers were not content still and have concluded, what if the cannon runs out of shells? We need more firepower. So they installed 8 more 50 cal machine guns on it, right around the cockpit, in addition to 4 turrets. Yes, seriously. This concludes this video dedicated to big calibers on the ground and in the skies. Remember, the size does not always matter. Stay tuned, War Thunder Tutorials, signing out.